things might be looking good for Donald Trump in respect to so much of what's going on in the country. So the media and the Democrats, they know exactly which way to go. Russia, that's what CNN's Dana Bash says, might be responsible, and Adam Schiff agrees, for many of the riots that we see across the country. Let's take a listen.
Do you have any reason to believe that Russia is trying to fuel some of the civil unrest in these cities via social media or other methods?
Well, first of all, Dan, I condemn any of the violence that's going on, and I find it astounding that my colleague in the Senate can't simply condemn this. The peaceful protests, I think, are calling out in a very important way the murder of so many black men and women at the hands of police, and those protests are in the best tradition of the United States. But we need to make sure that they're peaceful, as they largely have been, and that there aren't these incidents of violence. In terms of what we can expect from the Russians or what the Russians are doing, the Russians 4 years ago, Dana, exploited Black Lives Matter. They set up their own false flags online to try to divide people along racial lines.
Are they doing it now?
And we have to, they are, once again, doing their best in social media, in their overt media, and other means to grow these divisions again. And I think that most pernicious, we have to worry about they're aggravating these tensions in our cities.
So I didn't know, Krystal, that we would be divided if it weren't for the Russians. That's really all of the Russians' fault.
Dang those Ruskies.
Oh, God, this stuff drives me absolutely insane.
Well, they see it around every corner. They use it as an excuse for literally everything. And I thought Aaron Mate, who's a friend of our show, made a great point on Twitter. He said, look, even if Russians were trying to fuel something, how contemptuous and racist do you have to be to think BLM could be manipulated by social media memes? It's Russiagators who are, in fact, exploiting BLM to fearmonger about Russia and deflect from racism and dysfunction that is native-born right here in the USA. And that's exactly it. Like, the whole Russiagate idea is so fundamentally contemptuous of voters and their own ability to evaluate the choices in front of them and make their own decisions about how they feel about presidential contenders, about how they feel about racism in America, whether they want to protest, how they want to go about living their lives. And look, that's not to say, obviously, we're going to cover actually with Zed Jelani how social media fuels divides and all of those things. I mean, you could point more to the tech titans that set up our social media platforms in this way to set us against each other, much more so than you could the Russians. And again, it's not to say that they're not trying, they're not doing things, whatever, but they never talk about China. They never talk about Iran, who want to weigh in on the side of Joe Biden because that's not convenient to the narrative. But the fundamental lie of Russiagate is that, you know, these few Facebook and social media memes are driving basically everything that you see unfolding before your eyes in America. And Americans are basically like these easily manipulated automatons, like just set off in whatever direction the Russians decide to send you in.
We have plenty of tension and hatred and native-born problems right here at home. We don't need, it doesn't take Russians, you know, fanning the flames or whatever to make it worse. And that is actually what I think the real issue here is, trying to absolve yourself of guilt in the case of CNN, many of these mainstream media who apologize for this violence. But really, it's the contempt that they hold these, protesters, right? Like, you think they needed Russians to go out into the streets? Like, are they the ones who killed George Floyd? And same thing on the right. I mean, you think people on the right need a Russian meme in order to be outraged by videos of things burning and people getting killed on the street? No, we got plenty of stuff right here at home, and all it is to absolve themselves of guilt. It's to always have the ultimate out to say, no, it had nothing to do with us. It's just these pesky Russians. Maybe I would say it's 99.9999%, much more having to do with our own problems here than anything to do with Russia or China or Iran or anybody else. I think that's what most foreign interference basically amounts to.
And by the way, you can guarantee if Joe Biden loses again, which looks entirely possible today, we can throw his statement up here, they're going to blame the Russians once again. And this is one of the things that's actually really important to watch. I mean, there can be only one conclusion. President Trump's hoping Vladimir Putin will once more boost his candidacy. Okay, whatever. I mean, I'm sure Trump will be fine if Vladimir Putin does boost his candidacy. He's certainly not going to object. Let's be clear about that. But part of watching this election unfold is also asking the question about what lessons are going to be learned from this election. Last time around, there was a very clear rejection of the status quo, rejection of the neoliberal establishment that came out from the voting public, and they're discussed with Hillary Clinton and what she represented in terms of American politics. They didn't learn that lesson. They learned the lessons about Russia. They blamed it on sexism. They blamed it on all of these other things, which again, at the margins may have been factors, but they missed the big blaring message that was sent from the American public. And you can see already, if Joe Biden loses again, everyone should look and go, we can't run this type of if you want to win, you're an idiot to run this type of politician again. They're not going to want to learn that lesson.
Never.
They will do anything to keep from learning that lesson. So we've got Russia ready to go. I'm sure they've got a host of other excuses. It'll be, you know what it'll actually be? It'll be that he went too far left, which will be the most laughable thing ever. But you know that is literally what they'll say. They'll blame it on the left. They'll blame it on the Bernie bros all over again. And there'll be a big fight over what to actually learn from this election.
I think that's right. Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
All right, more Rising for you after this.